You're racist. You're supporting Obama.
It sure seems like America in 2016 is a politically divided place. The headlines and talking heads keep reminding us that we don't get along.
I'm not. I'm against both of them.
No,
because
you're
neither.
with Hillary.
But it turns out that some Americans keep their political enemies close. Really close.
Do you think climate change is real?
So climate change, I don't really.
It's scientifically proven.
So like if
The
you
thing
try
is
to
that
take
you can
away guns
also-
from everybody, is that really going to stop people from killing each other with guns?
She's
It
innovative.
Just seems
She
shady.
was innovative.
It just seems shady. Like, what does she need to serve, and why does she like?
Is it illegal to seem shady?
It just seems shady.
All right.
My wife Kim, she'll be voting for Hillary. She would have loved to vote for Bernie. And this year I'll be voting for Donald Trump. I put way more faith in the free market and private enterprise than government because I know it works. He's been super polarizing. It's partly because people are so sensitive to being offended. I mean, it's really tough to speak your mind, and not offend someone.
When we were first dating and talking about politics, I don't think I realized how politically opposed we were. My husband's a conservative Republican, but he's still cool. And we're still in love, and it's great.
At Yale University, Assistant Professor of Political Science, Eitan Hirsch, has been looking at data about the extent of what he calls partisan intermarriage, and Sean and Kim are definitely not alone.
We looked at 30 states, including Pennsylvania, that had party registration data available. So we know who's the Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. Altogether, looking at these 30 states, we have a total of about 18 million couples that we're studying here. And we did this to try to get a handle on to what extent people are mixed together or divided. Of all the married couples, about a third of them were intermarried in some way or another. 10% was a Democrat married to an independent, 10% was a Republican married to an independent, and 10% were Democrat married to a Republican.
So if we extrapolate from Eitan's findings to the country as a whole, we get 10 million couples, 20 million registered voters who share a life but not a political identity. Look, we're not saying that America is one big happy blended family. Only 1/3 of marriages are mixed, like Sean and Kim's, and we know some registered independents lean towards their partner's political party, but it's fair to say that a significant number of couples live in a house divided. And outside the home, like at the park or the store, most of us encounter opposing viewpoints.
Very few people live in places that are 90% or more Democratic or 90% or more Republican. Most places are not at all like that.
Which suggests, at the very least, that we ought to rethink what we're being told about how divided America actually is. Look at this Pew Research Center headline on friendship. It says almost half of Clinton supporters and 31% of Trump supporters say they have no close friends who support the other candidate. Now flip it, and it turns out that 53% of Clinton supporters and 69% of Trump supporters have at least one close friend who's supporting the other candidate.
Campaigns are all about, getting people emotionally invested in what they're doing, and what the campaigns want to do is win. And the downsides are that, you stop thinking about, who's on the other side of that battle.
Part of what makes our relationship work is I really am interested in understanding what he's feeling and thinking and understanding why.
I mean, maybe the divisiveness isn't necessarily a bad thing. So you kind of evolve and you figure out, okay, what do I really believe?
Democratic politics requires parties. But we also don't want partisanship to affect every aspect of our lives because it can be very disruptive in a way that maybe it doesn't need to be.
We both feel real strongly about our beliefs and what's important. But I mean, it's secondary. There's bigger issues in our household than who's running our country.
One thing that people have noticed in politics is that members of Congress are spending a lot less time with one another. If Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill were better friends, basically, they would treat each other better and they would compromise better.
What about you? What would your advice be to, let's say, our Congress who can't seem to even talk to each other right now?
Fight harder.
I don't know, maybe find somebody on the other side of the aisle to fall in love with and get married and have kids. And, then you'll respect that person.
I'm already indoctrinating the kids. They're registered.
The registered Republican.
Yeah. I'm reading at bedtime. I read them like the founding fathers.